Let me tweet this link first. Saw your school kicking your ass as much as it is mine right now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's just my algebra class.
That's everything on my end.
Because, like, I have a Bible class. It's a survey of the Old Testament. It's a breeze. The two classes I actually have to go to, they're easy. One's a podcasting class.
That's awesome.
Like, we're making our own podcast. Mine's called Sawyer Talk Sports. Real original. Another one's about like diversity or something in business. I don't even remember. And then another one's a like a TV production class, but I don't even have to go to it. So yeah, algebra. But I'm done with it the 26th of this month, and I'm counting down the days.
Sounds like you got your schedule done early. I always waited the last second to make mine.
Yeah, it's a future me problem.
I've got to take some classes this summer too, and then hopefully I'll take enough in the summer to be done completely in December.
Hey, Sawyer, I was looking at your shirt. My cousin on my mom's side, her oldest brother's son, my cousins are from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, which is one of the Tri-Cities with Florence and Sheffield, I think, up in northwest Alabama.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to UNA's campus?
Yeah. That's where I go.
The two lions at the front of the campus are cool. The live lions, that's cool.
One of them died either last semester or the one before. I can't remember. That Leo died, and they replaced him already.
Those habitats are legit. Like, they have huge habitats for these lions.
It really is. It's cool to, like, walk by and just see because it's in, like, the middle of the campus. So you're like, oh, my God.
Yeah. It's like some dorms over here and then live lions over here.
That's cool.
All right, let's tweet it out. Y'all ready?
Let's go.
All right, Captain.
Fired up.
Oh, Batman, my Batman.
I've been told I look like Christian Bale before. It's okay.
At least you don't talk like Batman.
Hey, I'll get it down there if you want me to. I'll open the podcast like that.
I always thought he was reaching a little bit with that
Yeah, it's
that voice.
that scratchiness in his voice isn't natural, I don't think.
I don't think so.
It's a little manufactured there. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome into episode 6. Yeah, episode 6, the checkerboard check-in. Missing D. Scott tonight. He's down with food poisoning. Got him down bad tonight, sounds like. But we got Sawyer, Murphy, Keenan. Boys, what's going on?
Oh, it's all good, man.
D. Scott probably saw that basketball game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's probably why he's under the weather a little bit.
That's enough to make anybody sick watching that.
Man.
It's we'll start right there. It's what Sawyer brought up before the show. What 12 minutes and 7 seconds, something like that, of no field goals.
12:37. I think they said 12:37. That no baskets.
That's kind of what you said. Like, how is that possible? How do you do that?
You have to attempt to do that. Like, I don't know, man. And I got to watch most of the game. It's not like during that stretch we were just taking awful shots either. It's just like nothing was falling. We did turn it over a lot in that stretch, but I mean that's concerning. You're probably midway or close to midway through the year, and you go that long without scoring a bucket. I mean, it's enough to raise an eyebrow, if you ask me.
It is. It's bad. There's no way around that. It might be a byproduct of the way our team is set up. We don't have a go-to guy, in my opinion. We have, it's good to play team ball. It's good to spread the scoring and, everybody in double figures and all that. But sometimes you need someone that you can look to, get you a bucket, get you out of a 12-minute drought before it gets anywhere close to 12 minutes. So, whether that's Springer, or whoever, somebody, or I thought Josiah Jordan-James had a decent game, and just with his versatility, I think he might be an option in that spot. But you got to have somebody that you can look to when you need a bucket, and I don't know, if this team just has really nailed that down at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you said. What we were talking about before the show, it'd be nice to have a fiery leader like a guy like Mac McClung, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right, Gate City, Virginia, close by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this team's streaky, and that hasn't been a shock even before the letdown the other night. I mean, we've known since probably a little bit before the first Alabama game, honestly, that this offense, I mean, your defense, you know what you're gonna get pretty much, but the offense, it's just, I mean,
it goes to sleep.
Yeah, streaky was good at first. I mean, you could take streaky over what we've got now. Now it's just, I mean, you don't want to downplay Ole Miss on defense. I mean, I think they came in number 2. We were number 1 in the SEC on defense. But I mean, it's just it's like Keenan said before. I mean, somebody on previous teams would have recognized there's a problem and hey, let's do something different. But it's this team. It's nobody. Maybe a leader steps up, but at this point, we're February 5th now? I mean, March Madness in a month now, so I don't know. I mean, basketball is weird. It's a game of you get hot at the right time, and we saw what Loyola Chicago and Sister Mary can do. So, I mean, if they can do it, I don't know why anybody can't, but I mean, it's like we have a couple good games, then we have this game where we're like, hey, you've got to get it turned around quick. So there's still time, but I mean, it's wearing down very quickly, I guess is the best way to put it.
And, I hate to say it, but in my opinion, at least, this team doesn't have a true point guard at this point. Vescovi is supposed to be that. I think he lacks maybe some athleticism and speed needed for the position, and maybe even some leadership qualities. I don't think I've ever seen Vescovi yell at anybody, get mad at anybody, do anything like that. And I'm not trying to, rain down on him, because he's had to share the load with Victor Bailey and Josiah Jordan-James some on just point guard duties. But that in itself tells me that we don't have someone at that position to look to, and as much as we all are ready for him to be here, Kennedy Chandler isn't here yet. So you got to figure something out at that position. I think Vescovi would probably be better suited as a 2 guard, but you need him at the point at this point. So it's a balancing act, and it's something that we should have enough veteran leadership. I should have enough veteran leadership, to push through that. But that's one of the many ifs that we're having to answer right now. So
yeah, I think you were hoping to get some of that out of Victor Bailey coming into this year. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big basketball guy. I try to watch, but he gets to the rim. His ability to get to the rim is there, but he just can't finish. Like, he'll get 3 or 4 easy layups, and you're just like, why is this guy not able to finish this? He can get hot from the 3-point line, but when he's not hot, he's trying to find his shot, and then he's just taking shot after shot after shot, and they're not falling, and you're losing possessions, and that can put you behind. But I think in this situation for a basketball team is when you want to turn to your alpha. One of your senior leaders, Fulkerson or Pons, and I don't think neither one of those guys has it in them to take that position and run with it. Fulkerson has shown at times that he can score in bunches, and so has Pons, but I don't know. Watching Fulkerson, just something doesn't seem right with him. I don't know if he's playing hurt or what, but something just doesn't seem right with Fulky. But you got to have somebody to go to get you points, like you guys have said. And I thought Josiah Jordan-James was looking like that guy, the way he was getting hot from the 3-point line. He was shooting lights out to start that game, and then it went the way it went. So I don't know the answer. Like I said, I'm not a huge basketball guy, so I'm not going to try to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But they got to find something, or March is not going to be fun.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not either, but it just – I mean, I think Pons is the closest guy we've got to that, to just taking over, and he's not – I mean, it may just be that we're used to, if you needed a bucket, it was toss it down to Grant Williams in the low post, and he'd 99 times out of 100 he had a post move he could put on, or he'd hit a little turnaround hook, something like that. I mean, it's just Pons.
Up until this year, Pons hasn't, been required to be the guy.
Right.
So it's kind of hard just to turn that on, and unless it's something inside you already. But I don't know. I agree with Murphy. Bailey Jr., if he's not making threes, then he really doesn't, have a spot, or what is he doing? It's when it gets down to crunch time, you got to have that alpha. You got to have that killer instinct. And I don't know if we have that right now. And maybe it's a player that needs to step up. I'm sure Barnes has done his fair share of yelling at this team. And, I think it's going to have to come from within, a players only meeting or something like that. But they got to find some type of consistency, because they have none. They have no consistency on the offensive end. And, as good as their defense is, if you can't score points, you're not going to win very many games. So they got to find some kind of offensive consistency, and they got to find a leader that's going to, they can turn to in these situations. So it's an ongoing process.
And I think you talked about the point guard earlier, and I don't know, maybe it's just me in this thinking, but after seeing his playmaking ability, his basketball IQ, I wouldn't mind seeing Jaden Springer run the point guard. I mean, I'd really love to see that. I'm a huge Springer guy. Of the two freshmen, he's my guy. I love Keon too, but Springer's my dude. And
I wouldn't be opposed to having the ball in his hands more.
Mm-hmm. And, we talk about Bailey. If he's not hitting shots, what good is he doing you? I mean, there's been games with Vescovi, you could say the same thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not hitting shots, he's turning it over a ton. He's not the best defender. He's not the worst either. But I don't know. And not having a guy is that's a problem, especially come March. Because, I mean, it's like D. Taylor said, we knew that when it came down to it, Grant Williams was going to get the ball. Grant Williams was going to make the right play. It wasn't necessarily score, but, he could go score, or he'd kick it out to Admiral or Bowen or Bowden. We had guys that were ready for that moment. Right now we are far, far, far from that. I mean, Keon hit the three late in the game last night, or Tuesday night, I'm sorry. And, I mean, besides that, it's just like we were dead. Pons got in foul trouble, and I think that's when the drought kind of started. I could be wrong. But, I mean, there for a little stretch, Pons was catching it in the high post and facing dude up and hitting a jumper right over him every time, seemed like.
Every time.
And, I mean, I do think if there's anybody who could just take over a game on this team, it would be Pons, just because of the freak athlete he is. Because, I mean, he can rise up over you for a jumper, or he could go right by you and just, dunk one on you. But it's got to be established, and it's got to be sooner than later.
And I realize that basketball is moving towards basically positionless basketball. You want everybody, 6'6" to 6'9" and similar. That's the way the league's going. But there is not much of an inside presence at all on the offensive end for this team. Pons will back his way into the paint from the 3-point line, or Fulkerson might be able to get off a couple post moves, but it's nothing that's with any consistency. And whether that's on recruiting or development, they got to get bigger, in a lot of areas. And I think that's another problem. I think this team is very good 2 through 4, but you got to have a point guard. You got to have size that you can count on, to rebound, because that's also another problem. Who's who on our team is getting 10 rebounds a game? I haven't looked at the stats, but I can't imagine anybody.
Josiah's probably the closest right now.
Right.
It seems like Josiah's our best rebounder.
Exactly. And that shouldn't – I mean, I applaud his effort, but that shouldn't be the case. He shouldn't have – his abilities should be used elsewhere. And we should be able to count on our post guys to fill up the stat sheet on the rebounds and, be able to throw the ball in at any given time and get a post move. And it just seems like those are our most inconsistent areas of our offense, our point guard and the 5. So it's something that needs to be addressed. It really is. It's something that needs to be addressed.
And to me, honestly, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow. Maybe this is kind of a hot take on my end. I don't think it is, just from watching him this year. I mean, John Fulkerson, as much as I love Fulky, I mean, he's hilarious. I love watching him. And Murphy brought up, it's been a question, maybe he's hurt, maybe something, he's limited somehow. But it's regardless, as much as I love him, Fulky has shown that if he's got a matchup against a bigger physical guy down low with him, it neutralizes him. I mean, if he has a smaller player on him, if he gets switched over, if his guy gets in foul trouble, that's when we see those spurts. And I think that's how he was still leading us in scoring, which shocked me before this last game. I think that's how he still does it, is getting those points in not really garbage time, but when he's got the advantage. But
right.
I mean, he's just not – he's not a Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield that Schofield wasn't necessarily a post player, but I mean, he got down there and he's physical enough. I mean, Fulkerson, I love him. I love him on the team, but he's just shown that if there's a bigger matchup that he's got to go against, you're already at a disadvantage right there. And that's what you said about recruiting. I just don't know. This isn't me bashing Rick Barnes, but because he just pulled in the number 1 point guard in the country and another top 50 player in Meshack.
Meshack, yeah.
I mean, but his inability to get a big guy, and I mean, we got Euros, which was the whole movement last year for Euros, and now Euros, I mean, he's a teddy bear. I mean, he gets on the court, and I don't think the guy jumps at all. I don't think he have ever left the floor. I mean, he's a great bench guy. He's picking guys up. I do love that. He picks them up every time they're under the basket. But, I mean, we started a whole campaign for the guy. God love him. We started a whole campaign, though, to get him eligible, and he's just – if there was any sliver, any opportunity of him being able to carve out playing time, this is
he'd be there.
And last year was the year when you don't have a post threat. So
and between him and Aubrey Solomon, was that a bigger waste of time on Twitter than those two guys? Or
I'd say Pons, or not Pons, Euros probably. I'd say Euros probably. Just Solomon was a decent contributor. I mean, Euros,
those were all-out campaigns for their eligibility for Vol Twitter, and you're right. Solomon panned out a little more. But this team does not. Who scares you in the post besides Pons? Or, well, I mean, offensively, nobody scares you in the post on our team. Nobody.
And
you're like and Keon backing guys down, though, because, I mean, Keon's a lot like Pons. You know, he can just, in the blink of an eye, he's above you shooting a, turnaround jumper or whatever. And Springer, I'd heard when he was in high school and everything that he just had this bulldog mentality, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. He really does. I mean,
he does.
Solid, man. He's 6'4", probably 200, 205. He's every bit of it. I mean, he's solid.
And, that's what they need. I hope it, lack of a better term, pisses them off that things like Tuesday happen. And you can look at Keon Johnson and tell that, it makes him mad. And, that's what we need, but it's got to be with any type of consistency, some type of consistency, because I don't want to. 2 years ago, Tennessee was pretty much one of the top teams in the country for covering the spread. And that if that's, nothing else, just one more reason that you can see the team is, maybe not on par as 2 years ago, is that they don't have any kind of consistency, and you don't know what you're going to get from night to night. After demolishing Kansas, you would think they'd be able to take care of a good defensive Ole Miss squad, but not one that should be able to hang with the type of talent that Tennessee has.
We
followed
up our best win with our worst loss. I mean,
exactly, absolutely.
That was worse than the Florida game, because I mean, a game like that, you're going to have one of those every year. I mean, the only teams that don't have a game where you're sluggish for whatever reason, shots aren't falling, and the other team's just hot, they can't miss. I mean, we saw it in the tournament a couple years ago when we played Auburn. We didn't play bad, but Auburn couldn't miss a shot. I mean, now you've got teams like Gonzaga that play.
I was in attendance for that Auburn game, by the way.
Yeah, that's painful. That's
painful.
You got teams like Gonzaga that kind of beat up on the little guys, and then I mean they're stout. Don't get me wrong, but when's the last time they won the Natty? I mean, they get to the tournament, and then you start getting into the Elite Eight territory, and you're not playing UC Pepperdine or whatever beach school that smells like the ocean constantly. You're not playing them anymore. So I mean, it's just, I mean, another thing on Uros, I'm not trying to bash him, but like he must not provide much in practice either, and you can see that because if he did,
minutes,
if he was a beast in practice, well, yeah, the minutes is one thing, but if he was a beast in practice and say he would get into games and he'd get in foul trouble, and that's why he's not playing, that's why he doesn't get minutes, that's one thing, but he must not do much in practice either, because if he was a beast in there, one, like you said, he'd be playing. Two, Fulkerson would be a lot better because he's practicing against a dog in the post every day. But in practice, I mean, who is he? I mean, Corey Walker's been hurt. That's the only other. I mean, he's 6'9", I think.
Yep.
6'9", something like that. So, I mean, there's him, Pons. They're on the floor at the same time. I mean, they're running with the ones, I would assume. I mean, I'm like Murphy. Keenan's got me beat in basketball, but I mean, I know if you're trying to get your whole unit as cohesive as possible playing together, I mean, he's going up against our second string, which is maybe Anasicki, who he's got the height advantage over. Anasicki's stronger, but he can reach over that hook, and he doesn't have to get into a wrestling match with him, really. So I don't know. I mean, that's the one thing that's just always held me back on Barnes, is his in-game adjustments are spotty at times. Player development, I don't think there's anybody better in the country. I mean, he's solid in that area, but the inability to recruit a big guy, the in-game coaching is one thing. I mean, I understand you're going against a good defense. Now, on no planet should they have won that game, and you can chalk it up to a bunch of reasons why, but the inability to get a big guy is just, I mean, it's baffled me so far. It's the one thing that keeps me it always keeps me grounded on Barnes. Like,
I couldn't agree more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. You got at Texas, you got Chris Mims, you got LaMarcus Aldridge, you got Kevin Durant, you got Tristan Thompson. There is a long line of successful big men that Barnes has been able to pull. And, Grant Williams, as great as he was 6'6", 6'7". It's been a mystery to me why he hasn't been able to recruit a larger athlete. And, you look at the point guards as well. You got DJ Augustine, TJ Ford. He's always been able to recruit those two positions very well. And, besides Bone, we really haven't had just a true point guard on the team.
To me, I mean, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I know, and I'm not making this comparison at all. I'll let you, Keenan, since you're you're more basketball focused than I am. Vescovi reminds me, not in the way they play at all, and he's nowhere on Ginobili's level, because Vescovi.
That's exactly what I was going to say too.
He's frustrated me this year, but his play style is like Manu Ginobili to me. When I watch him, he can bring it up the floor safely, most times. Now, is he the ball dominant guy that he needs to be
No.
like Manu Ginobili was? No. I mean, Ginobili was better off the ball, catch and shoot. He could drive in way better than Vescovi can. I mean, Vescovi, I mean, let's be honest, him going to the rim is a train wreck. I mean, was it against Bama or Florida? It may have been one of the games we won too, like barely won. He drove to his left and just got hit. It wasn't a foul really though. I mean, it was contact, and just threw one up. I mean, his ability to drive in is, I mean, it couldn't get more subpar. I don't think that's why Sawyer. I mean, the point about Springer bringing it up, I've been wondering that for a couple weeks now. I mean, it seems like at this point Springer's more careful with the ball. I mean, yeah, he'll have the occasional freshman mistake where he'll throw it away. But Victor Bailey too. I mean, it's like you said, when he's not hot shooting, he just doesn't contribute much because him bringing it to the floor is a turnover waiting to happen. I mean, he's going to throw it away. He's going to lose it. So that's my rant there. I mean, I guess I agree with Sawyer the most. Like, just give Springer the ball. I mean, he can. He's the only guy. Him and Keon are the only two that have shown that they'll go to the basket, get hit, and you can say what you want about Keon. I love Keon. I mean, I love Springer too, but I guess it's just Keon's the hometown kid close by over here. So, and I think he's got the highest potential. But, I mean, you can say what you want about the missed free throws. That's rough, but that seems to be contagious with the whole team this year. So, I mean, it's bad. It's good that you have two freshmen that want to go in and just they don't care really if they get hit, but that's also bad that you've really only got those two because like
that
Murphy,
you have to rely on two freshmen to do that.
Right, like Murphy said, Victor Bailey. I mean, he can get to the rim with ease. It seems like sometimes, but I don't know how many wide open layups he's either just completely just whiffed on or just I don't know. It's he gets hit sometimes, but I don't know. He just kind of looks a little timid. He'll go in, if that makes sense. He'll go in hard, but he looks timid when he goes in.
Mm-hmm. It's like
and I don't think there's a better, example of how lacking our point guard position is than Ole Miss put a simple 1-3-1 press on. Yeah. Something you've known since church league basketball, and we couldn't handle it. We could not handle it. And it's because you didn't have a primary ball handler, somebody that you can look to. And it's as talented as this team is and as much potential and, probably a very high ceiling for this team, you got to address these issues or they're not going to be able to achieve anything. And Barnes' record in the postseason, as much as we love him and, rightfully so, his record in the postseason is very lacking. It's very lacking, compared to the amount of talent and the amount of tournament appearances. He should have had a final, more than one Final Four right now. He should probably have a national championship right now. So if this team, and I think this team is equipped with its high ceiling to make a postseason run. I really do. I think if they can put a couple pieces together and get some consistency, they'll be able to make a postseason run. But at this point, it's anybody's guess if they're able to put those pieces together at all, because we haven't seen it with any type of consistency, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see how much talent this team has and, not be able to put it together. So
that team we saw against Kansas is a Final Four team. This team we've seen against not as much Alabama a little bit, but Florida,
Ole Miss and Florida,
Mizzou, Mississippi State. They didn't look great. Really, I mean that's a team
they didn't.
I mean, people say bouncing round to 32. I mean, you could lose first week, honestly. I mean, if you play like you did against Ole Miss, I mean, I don't know. We go from Final Four to maybe Sweet 16, the round of 64 to back to Final Four. So I don't know. I mean, to me, with kind of going back to that, there's no inside presence. Baylor and Gonzaga will eat that alive. So I mean, to me, it's going to come down
to get ugly.
Yeah, if they're gonna make a deep run, it's just gonna have to get hot at the right time. I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid, but I don't know that I see this team getting past the Sweet 16 where we sit right now. I mean,
Not if something doesn't change, that's for sure.
and it's good because it's not. I haven't thought it's a bad year. I mean, it's been more depressing than we thought it would, but the two freshmen are insane. Josiah Jordan James looks like a completely different player from last year. I mean, him. You've got Pons to where he used Pons. If you would ask me when he was first got here, if he would have been drafted, I would have laughed in your face. And now,
Yeah.
I think he was projected as the last pick the other day, which is I think it was 60 overall. So that
And when you look at Fulkerson, he's probably taking a step back.
yeah,
And
Big time.
And he, it's disconcerting because you have to think it's because there's more talent on the team. There's, I would hope that he wouldn't bow out in that situation, but it kind of looks like that's what's happening. He's trying to defer to the other talent on the team when we need him. We need him bad. And when he's at his best, we're at our best. So, I mean, we need all of Fulkerson. We all need Fulkerson.
I almost hope he's hurt at this point. I hope there's something wrong that will give an explanation. Honestly, at least then okay, if it's the wrist from the first time he screwed up, that's still bothering him. Okay, because I've wondered that because there's just so many times that I think the other day Springer drove in and made a beautiful, I don't know if it was a no-look pass, but made just an awesome pass to him. A 4-year-old should have caught that pass and had an easy layup, went up and dunked it. I don't care how athletic the 4-year-old is, whatever you're talking about. But, I mean, it just hit him right in the hands, and it's just a simple turnover. I mean, we've known since he stepped on campus, sometimes Fulky can kind of look like a baby deer walking on ice. I mean, that's part of the reason you love him. Sometimes he's out there and he's just stumbling around, you're not really sure what he's doing, but he's making plays. Now he's stumbling around like that, and he's turning it over. He's thrown up several air balls this year from not more than 10 feet out. So you don't hope anybody's hurt, but that would at least give an explanation. I mean, I would hope they'd come out and say, yeah, John's been dealing with this since this game. He's been dealing with this since this game. He's just beat up in general. I mean, just sit him for a couple games then. Let him get his mind right. Let him get his body right, something, because the Fulky that's out there right now for the last 2 weeks probably is a liability. I mean, he adds nothing. He's getting whipped down low. He's turning the ball over, and he's probably technically still our leading scorer, but I mean, that was a lot from the early season where he was, I mean, you're whipping Tennessee Tech then. So,
I mean, the guy shoots a good percentage, but what worries me is when he's taking 3 shots a game, he's taking 4 shots a game. He's just not involved. I can deal with an off night, but what I can't deal with is Fulkerson not showing up at all when he knows how important that he is to this team. And I think that's probably what Barnes is trying to get across to him. He thought he had turned a corner after the Kansas game. Barnes straight up said, no, he didn't. I mean, you could see what happened Tuesday. So, he's got to show up. He's got to show up in a big way, be a presence, take some shots, be our offense, be as much of an enforcer as John Fulkerson can be. And one thing with him and Pons, I think Fulkerson's 6'9", Pons is 6'6", 6'7".
Close to that.
Yeah. They got to stay out of foul trouble. And that's hard to do when you're giving up, a height advantage like they're probably giving up most nights. But they got to figure out a way to stay out of foul trouble because we need them at the end of these games. There
was a quick whistle the other night too. That was one of the typical SEC Tuesday night games every year where Ted Valentine, whoever it is out there, has to make the game about them. I mean, there were both ways. There were some awful calls the other night.
And we know how Barnes is going to play that. He's going to sit you down. He's not going to let you play. If you get in any type of foul trouble, he will sit you down. And so they got to know that. They got to adjust, and they got to know that. So
whether it's a good call or bad call, it's still a call at the end of the day. I mean, you can like it or not, but that's taking the chin. That's the scenario you got now. So, I mean, I don't know. Are all minds clear on basketball?
I think I got some demons out. Thank you.
Okay. I feel better. It's just a lot of suppressed angers out now. Sorry, little piece up there. Look at him.
Yeah. Well, I do have one more thing. And like just watching the games, like Keon Johnson, he's going 100% every time you watch him out on the floor. He's diving for the loose ball. He's doing whatever. Springer's the same way. Besides that, honestly, you don't see it much. It's like your young guys want it more than your experienced guys, which to me is concerning because you'd think, well, let me take that back. Pons is going all out all the time too. I'll say that. But like we talked about Fulkerson and the no-shows or whatever, Vescovi, he's the same way. I mean, if like I said earlier, if he's not hitting shots, he's not really helping you. Bailey's the same way. James is usually that guy that you can count on him to do a little bit of everything. That's scoring, passing, rebounding, doing whatever. But I don't know, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love seeing the 5-star freshmen playing harder than anybody. But if I was a junior or a senior on the team, I'd think, well, dang, because, I mean, we pretty much know that Keon's one and done. Like, he has no reason to go balls out every play like he does. Because, I mean, he could risk an injury, losing a bunch of money, but he does it anyway just because he's wired like that. I wish
the kind of player he is.
Like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of concerning that like you said, a lot more of the guys don't follow his lead because they've got to know that he's like that because I've known that he's like that. I watched him in high school, and I mean, the main thing that's keeping Keon, which he's the number 7 projected pick right now. I mean, you can only get 6 spots higher. The main thing there is his three. I mean, if he can hit a 3 at a consistent level, he's going to be a problem because his defense. I think his defense is already.
Yes. I
mean, he's ready for the NBA in that regard. His mid range is right up there with Jordan Bones. I mean, Jordan Bone, when he hit that little just pull up, he drive up 100 miles an hour, stop on a dime, pull up and hit that. I mean, Keon's that's deadly too. He's a freak athlete. I know Keenan knows that because he watches Ja Morant every week.
Exactly.
So that's his main thing.
Grant Williams dive on the floor for a loose ball. Schofield dive on the floor for a loose ball. Bone would do it too. Our 6'11" Kyle Alexander would even do it. What makes Fulkerson and, some of our other players that should have this experience and should, want to give everything, why are they any better? Why do they not have to give 100%? And it just raises some questions. I think this team needs leadership. I'm not at practice. I don't see them day to day, but this team needs a leader. And, who that is might be my best guess, but the freshmen at this point are just as good a candidates as anybody else, like you said, because of the effort they've shown, the want to. When they have the brightest future out of anybody on this team, they still want to give everything. They still want to give 100%. And maybe they need to be out. Like you said, Sawyer, let Springer bring the ball up. There's nothing wrong with letting Jaden Springer handle the ball more. I don't see anything bad coming from that.
No.
At all. So, maybe the freshmen do need to be our leaders.
I know what it is. Fulky cut his hair, and he's lost his power since then. Was it Samson? Was that who it was?
Samson, yeah.
I mean, same scenario. He doesn't have fire anymore. It's like I want the John Fulkerson that would be up 42 points and we go dive into the scorer's table and take a drink of the announcer's Gatorade while he's sitting there. I mean, that Fulky, it's like he's just going through the motions now. I don't know. Even if back then, even if he was turning it over when he was a young dude, I mean, at least it was exciting. Like he he'd make a play just all the time because he may not have known what he was doing, but his hair was on fire when he was doing it. Now it's just, I don't know. It's like it's a different dude. But all right, that's basketball. I mean, we've got out what we need to. This team needs a leader. It's obvious. If it's a freshman, if it's a senior, if it's Zach Bench, the walk on the end of the bench, I don't care. Just somebody grab somebody by the collar and just say, "Hey, go make a play." So, I mean, we'll move on. Football. Last time we met, what was it? This time last week, Heupel just been hired. Was that last week?
Yep.
I think it was Tuesday, wasn't it? Or Tuesday or Wednesday.
From then to now, the staff's gone. Everybody, right? Except Kevin Steele, which we still don't know. Could go one way or the other. I couldn't tell you at this point. T's contract expired beginning of this week, I think, February 1st.
Sunday.
Yeah. Ossavet, my pick to stay. I guess I jinxed that. He's gone now. Don't know why, really. Especially since he just interviewed with UCF the week prior. So I think he was the tight ends coach, and this new offensive coordinator we've got is going to coach tight ends apparently too. But I mean, put him somewhere else. I thought. I mean, even if it's not on the field role, I mean, like his ability. That's what I said on the episode last week. His ability to recruit JUCO kids. I mean, if you're going to need instant experience, that's the best way to bring it in. So, but I don't know. I mean, you got Jay Graham going to Alabama, which makes me absolutely ill thinking about
that. That's a low blow right there.
Yeah. Seeing him in that red was just, I mean, you kind of put your phone down, just go do something else for a minute. You see something like that. I mean, you got that. Anyone else I'm missing left?
Mo Hardesty is now at USC East.
Yeah. South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which he's a big up and comer in the field. He's not going to, South Carolina's not going to be his last job. He's going to keep moving up because he's a star in his field.
I mean, we've got the hires we know of was Glenn Ellerby, offensive line coach, just because he's already doesn't seem official yet, but he's already offered a scholarship. So, I mean, that seems about as solid as you can get. I mentioned the new offensive coordinator, Alex Golish, I think is how you say his last name. I mean, we know he's going to be coordinator, probably going to coach tight ends. He'll probably coach position too, just because we know Heupel's calling his own plays. Defense is where we haven't heard anything really. I think we talked about Ansley leaving. I think that had already broke on last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
So you know he's gone now. We were talking about it before the show. I think we got into Zach Arnett last week. Potential D coordinator candidates. It came out today. We've heard Todd Orlando at USC. Brian Brown at UL. That's the main two I've heard. And then right before we came on, who was it I said? The
Todd Orlando?
No, the Chiefs linebacker coach. What was his name? Matt.
House.
House.
Yep.
Was it Matt House? Was that what it was?
Yep.
I think I had it on.
That just broke right as I was scrolling right before I pressed the live button. So there's another candidate. Right now, I mean, it's what I sent you guys earlier in the week. Heupel was on with Greg McElroy on Sirius this morning. He gave the timeline that by Monday he thinks most of his staff's going to be in place by Monday. Seems to me, I think that's what we were talking about earlier. It seems like it's going to be kind of a big group announcement. I think even one of his quotes was he was going to let Danny White just kind of go through and announce everybody. So once they become official. So I say judging by what he said there, I have no reason to believe by this time next week we won't have a pretty full staff mostly. So, I mean, regardless of everything else, not to downplay them, I mean, everybody's watching one hire, and that's defensive coordinator. So, regardless of who you get, I want Zach Arnett. But I did hear today, I did see a quote that was true. Kevin Steele's style for his defense doesn't really match up with Heupel's offense. I think Murphy's nodding. He must have saw the same thing I did. I mean, Steele's not an aggressive blitz a lot guy that they're kind of looking for. He's kind of more sit back, let the play come to you, which isn't what Heupel's looking for. He's wanting guys that are going to blitz, get turnovers, get the ball back quick, and if you get burned, you get burned. We'll go out and score and get it right back. So any candidates that I'm missing that y'all are thinking of? Anybody you've got on your wish list that hasn't been reported yet?
Old Jeff Fisher's begging for the job, isn't he?
Jeff Fisher. We can add him to the odds list. I think he'll take any job he can get right now, I think.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, honestly, it's Danny White when he said he was going to fix any leaks. I mean, he got the Flex Seal. He busted it out. He's fixed some leaks right now. So I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, I guess we'll hear Monday, beginning next week. But his other quote, that was the big one. I wanted to get y'all's take on it. See if you read it the same way I did. Let me find it. I did screenshot it, I believe. It was about the players in the portal. Yeah. So this morning, the same interview I just previously mentioned, they asked him on the roster turnover with the coaching change. He said, the transfer portal created a change in player opportunity to potentially move on from your current university. Some guys who were in the portal are still here. You had individual meetings with them and gave them comfort of who you are. So those guys are back on campus and working out with us. He went on a little bit further, but there must not have been many people, which is odd because Vol Twitter's normally got hawk eyes for anything and everything this time of year, coaching search related, transfer portal, commitments, anything like that. So you can credit us. We were the first ones to see this quote here. We got to break it soon after the episode, I guess, that we can come out and say that Henry T is officially coming back when we don't know. But I want to get y'all's take on that. I mean, that sounds like, I would say Morris and Gray are officially gone. I mean, I don't think there's any way they're coming back now. But who's left there is the leader of your defense from last year. I mean, that's an instant boost that no matter who your defensive coordinator is, that helps out a lot. Do y'all think that's the same thing I'm thinking of, or I'm just
absolutely? I think you have a pretty good leader on each level of your defense in Middleton, Toa, and Trayvon Flowers, or McCullough even in the secondary. And that's what it's going to take. You know, that's what's going to be attractive to a potential D coordinator, and it better be a good hire considering he had a proven defensive coordinator already on staff. Like I said last week, this is the hire that'll determine the immediate success of his tenure. Because the 123rd ranked defense was what he had last year at UCF. That's not going to cut it at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the DC you got. I could sit here. We can throw names all night long, but for me, reading that thing about Kevin Steele not fitting the style of defense that you would want to opposite Heupel's offense.
I think John Bryce, I think it was his article.
I think so. For me, it's go get a guy, one, that Heupel's got to trust him, because Heupel's going to be mainly, not that he's not going to dabble in with the defense, but his main focus is going to be the offense, right? He's going to be calling the plays, making sure they're good to go. You got to trust the guy. And two, you got to get somebody that's going to run something that's going to complement your style of offense, because we've seen it the past couple of years. If you put your defense in a position where they're out on the field a whole bunch and they're not used to that and they're not prepared for that, and they're not playing a style of defense that is going to be aggressive, blitz, create negative plays, turnovers. I mean, how many turnovers did we have last year? I can't think of, maybe, but only 2, honestly, and they were balls that were thrown right at us. So you got to go get somebody that's going to run a style of defense that is going to complement that offense. I don't care who it is, whether it's a guy that's got a track record, whether he's an up-and-comer, a young guy that's energetic. I was thinking about this comparison earlier. in my head, and y'all might think differently, but give me a guy. You have two candidates. One guy has Jeremy Pruitt's track record. It's not Pruitt, but he's developed guys, draft picks, whatever, but he runs a style of defense that you don't necessarily think is going to work well. Then you got this other guy, young, up and coming, going to be aggressive on the defensive side. You think it'll fit. You trust him. Give me that guy over the track record guy. Give me the guy that Heupel's going to trust, because it doesn't matter about all the other stuff. Let that guy come in, trust him, run his style of defense, and let's see where this thing goes. I think you got to throw the names out of it and get the guy that you trust and that you think is going to come in and control the defense the best way that you think it's going to work. And as far as the guys in the portal, I don't want to hog the mic too much here, but my opinion of those guys that went in the portal was, don't jump ship so quick. Hang out, go through spring practice. And then after spring, once the staff is brought in, if you don't vibe well with the coaches, your position coach, the coordinators, head coach, whatever, then maybe see what else. Because it's not like these guys didn't have schools lining up to take them. I mean, they had SEC schools, Big 12, Pac-12. I mean, they had the pick of the lottery. So I think these guys need to stick it out, go through spring, see what the new staff is going to do when they come in, and then make a decision on if you want to go still. So that was where I was at.
Yeah, that's the main thing we're worried about with you, Murphy's hogging the mic. You never. Yeah, that's the best point. That scenario you laid out's the best, because I mean, we get too caught up in thinking about who's the names, who's got the track record. I'm with you personally. Fit, I'll take fit over track record any day. If you fit schematically, that's worth twice as much as you've got a good track record. I mean, at the end of the day, a track record can take a southward turn very quick, and then your track record's not looked at as highly then. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if it makes games, it's like we've been saying. If I'm going to lose, I'll lose 50-45. I mean, I'll lose that way. It's fun to watch at least, but I'll get burned if the defensive coordinator shows that he's going to go out all out blitz. Just we'll call it balls to the wall. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. If you're going to do that, if you're making big plays like that, getting turnovers, you're in the top half of the SEC in sacks, yards lost, tackle for loss. What I'm trying to say. Sacks, interceptions, scoring defense. If you're up there, but we're losing games because we're getting burned, I'll take that. I mean, you said you were going to be aggressive. You're aggressive. A lot of times, honestly, I mean, we're top 7 or floating around halfway, and Heupel's offense is going to be as dangerous as we think it is. That'll be fine. We don't have to be the number 1 defense. That you can get burned like that. So that's the best point of the night I think you have right there was, yeah, I mean, it fits schematically before you worry about a name. And a younger guy that is a little more fired up, that doesn't have the track record, is trying to make his track record, I think could be a lot more dangerous if he can recruit too. I mean,
that's the other thing. You worry about the recruiting side of things because people want to point at Heupel's track record of recruiting at UCF. Well, you're not working with the same resources and facilities and things that you have at Tennessee. So, and we know Tennessee is going to recruit itself. I mean, Butch Jones could recruit here. Derek Dooley could recruit here other than offensive linemen. So we know it could be done, but
that was more of a willing ignorance, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
He didn't want to recruit offensive linemen.
Right. So I do understand people wanting to bring in somebody that's got the SEC background or a top program background so they can bring in, young high school guys. But honestly, I think if you bring in a guy that fits well and this defense plays well, they see results and they see progress, and that's going to help. And the one thing that's going to help everything, we talked about it, is winning. If you go out and win games, that solves everything. Everything's going to fall into place.
So I had the hypothetical of, and I saw it with Nick Saban. They signed the largest or the highest rated class in, I guess in recruiting history. I know it was on 20.
It was the highest rated since Myers' class at Florida in 2009.
Okay, gotcha. So that made me think, like, that's a good point. That's what I brought up since the beginning. Really, I mean, you'd think fan morale you think recruiting, ticket sales, whatever you want to complain about's been wrong with Tennessee, player morale, coach morale, whatever you want to complain, whatever your main thesis is as to what's been wrong for the last 13 years, winning solves all of it. You made a good point. I mean, I think I saw where even if Dylan Brooks and Cody Brown got out of their NLI, like they're
Still be
apparently
top 20.
yeah, we'd be number 20 from 16. I think they said that was better than Butch, and I think Dooley's first class. So
I think Pruitt.
yeah, Pruitt, yeah. And I mean, it's what I've talked about before, that some people I've talked to don't agree with me on. I think this team's way more talented than those. You've got more talent here, especially young talent that hasn't been coached to do things the wrong way. They haven't been developed. I mean, they weren't seeing the field as much. Like guys like Jalen Hyatt weren't getting looks like that, but at least they've got some experience. And then you've got guys like Holiday and Callaway that you don't really know where they're going to fit in this offense, but they'll find a home just because they're playmakers and they're quick. So,
I absolutely agree. I mean, this offense and the weapons that he had to have been attractive to Heupel. Between Jalen Hyatt, Tyon Evans, D. Beckwith at running back. He's not, and that goes without saying. Harrison Bailey, Hendon Hooker, and Caden Salter. I think that's about as envious as a quarterback room, a young quarterback room, but
right.
About as envious as a quarterback room as you can get for an incoming coach. So the cupboard isn't bare that by any means. I just think it all comes back to the defensive hire. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a top 20 defense. It can be a defense that's opportunistic, that just puts its offense back on the field a little more, and that's plenty good enough for us.
And if it's kind of what we said earlier. I mean, like you just said, you don't have to be, because if what we brought him in to do, if he does it, you don't have to. Now, if your middle of the pack defense and your offense is floating around 10th, 11th, something like that, well, then you've got a different discussion you've got to have. That's more of, hey, we brought you here to do this. Why aren't you doing this? And not necessarily as much as year one. I mean, I think we've all kind of seen this year is going to be an experiment, because you're probably not going to the postseason anyway. So, I mean, it's going to be just kind of a tune in, see what happens here. Now, hopefully we gel this year. We mesh, and the offense shows that, hey, we're making plays if we just got a couple more guys. I think the offense will recruit itself too, kind of what Murphy said, as far as just the university will recruit itself, the facilities. Like you said, I mean, I think I said on the show last week, at UCF, he really didn't have any business recruiting outside the state of Florida. I mean, if you're there, why are you going and recruiting in Washington unless the guy's a 5-star and both his parents went there, his siblings go there, and he wants to go there? I mean, yeah, sure, you take somebody like that, but Florida's got so much talent, like I've said before, like Texas, like Southern Cal, Georgia. I mean, there's so much there that get passed up by Florida, Miami, Florida State. That's why I think the recruiting will take care of itself, honestly. And with an offense like he's planning to run, you don't have to be recruiting top 5 classes every year. You just got to get playmakers. The defense is a little more up in the air just because we don't know who's running the defense right now. So I can't say who you're going to recruit on defense. I could venture to guess you're going to be looking at a lot of edge rushers, good middle linebackers that can get everybody set,
and cover a receiver.
Yeah, cover a slant. Yeah, that's the main thing, which comes back to a more athletic linebacker. So hopefully we don't have any Mack trucks that can't get turned around in coverage. That's the main thing that kill us. So it's the general theme. Wait and see. I mean, you'll see once this hire's made, hopefully by Monday, because I'm getting tired of. I'm kind of past coaching search season now. It's gone on too long. It's been too stressful. Plus, assistant coaches just don't have the same pizzazz to them, I guess, that head coaches have. They don't put butts in the seats then.
And it doesn't make them any less important because this is
Right.
the most important hire that he is going to make.
For sure.
Absolutely. And, I love his style. And I think, we have people on the team right now that can be conducive to that. That's what you think of with a first-year head coach is what kind of transition is it going to be? And I think offensively at least, I think the transition can be somewhat smooth. I think our running back room got a little depleted. I think there were some guys in that room that could have gotten some playing time and could have been a leader and all that stuff. But, they've moved on and we need to move on. But that room is far from bare. And I'm excited about what he can do with it because regardless of, who we may have lost on offense or how far down we may be on offense right now, this will be the best talent he's ever had as a coach on offense. So, I'm excited to see what he can do with it. Absolutely.
Murphy's boy Roman Harrison out there on the edge. We've got edge rushers already there. I mean, we've got some decent ones, even with Dillon Brooks not coming in. I mean, so
I don't understand why you wouldn't want that opportunity to be, Dillon Brooks has a chance, get, 6, 7, 8 sacks as a freshman, maybe, because I guarantee you he would, get playing time, but, to each his own. And if he doesn't like the situation here right now, that's him. But there's so much opportunity on this team right now. And I think it's something worth taking advantage of.
Comes back to the point of I don't understand committing to a coach. I just don't get it all. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, yeah, I get it. Back in the old days, like I get it. But now when coaches are up and gone middle of the night as quick as they can, I mean, you got to pick the school, I think. So if it was what we think with Dillon Brooks and it was just he wanted to play for Jeremy Pruitt and Pruitt's out, he's out, I mean, good luck to him, honestly. I mean, if you don't like Tennessee, if you're already coming in like, man, I wish I was with this guy instead, then happy trails, pal. I mean, we'd love to have you, but we're not going to hate that you're leaving. I mean, same thing with Cody Brown. So, I mean, comes back to don't tweet at recruits, but just wish them the best. I mean, that's all you can do, really, unless you're like Murphy and you're Roman likes his tweets, his breakdowns. Murphy Schefter.
Well, Murphy's on a whole nother level right now.
He is. He was going off last week.
What can I say?
Just what you do, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that I don't know if many people have brought it up. I think I saw an article somebody wrote about it, but and I think somebody actually mentioned it before. But Heupel and the guys he's bringing from UCF, I know everybody's getting bogged down by the fact that UCF guys are coming to Tennessee, and there might be some more other, more guys coming, but they've proven that they can take a whole lot less talent than what's in that room with Tennessee and do a lot more with it. So I'm excited to see, because we mentioned it before, Tennessee can recruit itself. We've seen good classes come into this university and come to this program with high ceilings, and everybody's like, oh, we got this 4-star, we got this 5-star guy.
Get wasted.
Right. So I want to see personally these kids come in from this 21 class, and then not to mention we've talked about the 2022 class. I want to see these kids come in and the guys you got on the team now and develop these kids, take them from where they are right now and take them to that next level, take them to the NFL caliber players that Alabama's pumping out like it's a factory out there in Tuscaloosa. Give me some development. I don't care if it's a 3-star, 2-star, no star, whatever. If you can bring them in and mold them into the best football player they can be, do that. I'll take that all day long because you'll win games that way. So,
and to your point about the UCF coaches, my thing with it is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean,
Right.
it's like you said, people like, oh, well, we're just bringing UCF staff over. Well, UCF staff was a top 10 offense every year they were there. So I'm not sure why that's really irritating you. I mean, that's more the people. I guarantee a lot of those people were the groomers guys. John Gruden, he's in Knoxville today in a dark alley somewhere signing the contract right now. They get caught up in the names. I mean, that's my thing. As you were saying that, I was like, because I've seen people complain about that too. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, it's just it's part of the fan base that just, I don't know. That's the little group of them that I think they'll just never be happy with.
Exactly. They'll always have that opinion. They'll always, be set in their ways. But, this program needed a facelift, needed a change. This has a chance to be, as our harmonious offense as we've had since, the first time Chaney was here. So I'm all for it. I think we needed a change. I think, it's not, not who everybody would have picked, but who knows, and who's to say that it's not what we needed. So, I'm going to give it a chance. And I think he's bringing in the right people. I think he's bringing in, his people. And, I don't want him to go outside the box trying to overthink anything and just, I want him to go with what he knows and what he has had success with. And that I feel like that's what he's doing.
There's a reason that they're bringing offensive staffers from UCF and not defensive staffers. I mean, you touched on it, D. Taylor. They're a top 10 offense nationally for the last 3 or 5 years, whatever it was. And, Keenan said it a couple times about that defensive coordinator hire is definitely his most important. And, you try not to get caught up in the names, but Rodney Gardner for the D-line coach, I mean, that's one that keeps coming back to me. The right hire can bring the guys in the portal back. I mean, if Henry To'oTo'o meets his linebackers coach and he likes him, he trusts him, he's coming back 100%. I truly believe that.
He wants to be here.
Crouch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think more importantly, his family wants him to be here.
Oh, yeah. And look, you touched on it about you shouldn't commit to coaches because they're gone and this and that. But, that's just how kids are today. I think what drew To'oTo'o into Tennessee mostly was Jeremy Pruitt and his resume, how he was able to develop defensive players and everything. And,
money bag moose too.
Yeah, golly. Maybe he should be the McDonald's slogan or mascot now.
He's had some McDonald's throughout the course of his life.
Anyway.
You can tell that he's not a skinny boy.
No, but I totally agree with Murphy. I'll take fit over resume any day, because if we've got a team set up for let's just say a 3-4 and we're trying to run a 4-3, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to find the coach that fits your guys. And I think that's what Heupel's really doing right now, is trying to figure out the guys, trying to figure out what they like, what they don't like. And that's what you've got to do to, one, just build relationships, because that's a really important part of any sport, honestly. And two, to keep them there. Because, I mean, we've had a lot of guys enter the portal and leave or whatnot, but if you can build those relationships and gain their trust, then they'll just play even harder for you.
Right. That's all I can think of football. There was one thing Murphy brought up a minute ago that I want to touch on before we go. I was going to give a quick little wrap around here first. Lady Vol basketball is paused right now due to a COVID test, so don't know when they'll be back, but they're on a hold for right when they're rolling too. So that's just Tennessee luck right there.
The next one on the schedule is next Thursday.
So that could happen then.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Today they were supposed to play Mississippi State tonight. I think Vanderbilt Saturday. And I think they're scheduled to play Kentucky next Thursday. And we just got done beating the brakes off them a few weeks ago. So maybe if we can get a repeat of that.
Baseball opened the season, opened the preseason top 25 in the coaches poll day at number 16. They've been floating around 16, 18, 20 in whatever poll. There's a billion college baseball polls out there, so they're but pretty consistent or a consensus top 20 team. So
You hear that?
ready for baseball season.
It's angel season, singing
Yeah.
because baseball is about to start.
Absolutely.
Praise the Lord.
Christmas is not the most
Anybody
wonderful-
watching? Anybody watching now? We'll be at baseball games this year. We're already planning. The boys are going to be up there, so we'll come check
D.
in.
Scott might get shirtless. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, paint the checkerboard on him. But that was the two I had there. Last point, then we'll get out of here. We'll kind of make it short, I guess. I guess we'll just do more predictions. I'll kind of give where I'm sitting at. I know Caleb Landon, I know they talked about it on More Important Issues, airs Sunday and Wednesday nights. Go check it out. It's our boys. I know they mentioned it on the show the other night. And I think they both kind of had differing views on what they thought it meant. Murphy brought up the 2022 class, and obviously Ty Simpson's the big fish. I mean, you got Walter Nolan, you've got Dallin Hayden, but Ty Simpson's the one. I mean, when you struggle at quarterback, all eyes are always on the quarterback, especially nowadays. So
he's the one recruit that can get the class started.
right. That kind of gets into what I was wanting to get everybody's opinion on, because I've seen that people say since he's announcing this early, that's bad for Tennessee. I've seen some people say that he's announcing right now it's good. I think I know where Murphy's at. I feel like I remember his text message or one of his messages about it. Me, though, he has only had limited conversations with Heupel, from what we know. I tend to, and I know everybody's terrified that this is the next Trevor Lawrence, this is the next whoever that grows up a Tennessee fan. I mean, we've seen it before, whether they get here and they're underutilized or they grew up a fan. We see that all the way back to Jalen Ramsey and Derek Dooley. So it's nothing new. I mean, but where I'm sitting at, Texas A&M is out. Texas A&M.
They took a commitment from another quarterback today.
Yeah. So to me, it was them and Clemson, unless there's another team that I mean, people.
I hear Bama's still in it.
Right. People were saying Georgia and Bama. I don't buy it as much. I mean, I think that kind of comes down to if there's a big recruit, who's always in on it? Georgia, Bama, Ohio State. I mean, that if you showed me a 5-star, regardless of position right now, and said, hey, just take a guess who his top 5 schools are, that's my first 3 guesses right there. Then you probably throw in Notre Dame and maybe a Pac-12 school, USC if they're rolling, Oregon, something like that. And we'll just kind of get everybody's quick reaction to it. If you agree with me, if you don't, I kind of look at it, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I don't claim to be an expert on anything. I know one thing for sure. Ty Simpson's a Tennessee fan. You don't have to look. You don't have to look deep at all. You don't have to do much research to see him wearing something Tennessee gear. And it's not like the guys that they visit the school, they get a free shirt and they'll wear it when they're working out then. I mean, it's pretty well known Ty Simpson wants to go to Tennessee. That's my thing on it. Now, will he? I don't know. And regardless of where he announces, is it tomorrow? Is that when he announces?
I think it's the 19th.
The 19th.
Yeah.
19th. Oh, okay. I was way off then. A couple weeks still. Sorry. But I'm thinking I think he may be the first big one that's going to recruit his buddies to come here. That's me. I don't know. We'll get into that, but I think he could shock some people, which it wouldn't really be shocking since he's grown up a fan. But I think you could see that maybe he's the first guy that jumps on board and is like kind of like what Jalen Hurd was. I mean, early in that class, Hurd was fairly early, if I remember right. There were some early guys in Tennessee that jumped in that really helped recruit the state during that class. That's me. I think I'll call my shot right now. I'll probably miss. I'll probably be wrong. He's probably the next Trevor Lawrence, and he's going to go somewhere and he'll probably go to Kentucky, something like that, and kick our butt for the next 4 years. But I guess I'll tie that into my lock of the week. It's a risky lock of the week, Keenan, but that's my lock of the week is that Ty Simpson and Murphy don't like that lock of the week. You act like my locks of the weeks have been good anyway.
No, they're normally solid.
They're pretty consistently garbage. You don't have to deny it. But I'll go ahead and call it now. I think Ty Simpson commits to UT. And that'll change within the next couple of weeks on what people are hearing. If a new team emerges, what this team's leading. I mean, you'll see all kind of that crap. And even if he doesn't commit early, I mean, that would kind of throw my lock out. If Tennessee does halfway decent this year, I'd say that initial commitment won't be solid. I guess my lock really is more I'm taking a future on Ty Simpson being a Tennessee Volunteer, but I'll put the risky play in that he's going to be the first commit that kind of gets it started. We'll go Keenan, Murphy, Sawyer, and then we'll end it out. That's just the order you're in on my screen. So,
you know what? I like it. I think it's a good futures pick. And I think, the biggest selling point, obviously, is Heupel's success with QBs. What Sam Bradford won a Heisman, Drew Lock, Mackenzie Milton, Dylan Gabriel. He has made every quarterback that he's had into a success. And you can't overlook that. I don't know who the suitors are besides us for Ty Simpson. I've heard Alabama. I've heard a couple other things, but I don't know of any coach that he's still in with that has, the track record with QBs that Heupel does. And, if you want to put up yards, have success, then I see our coach as his best option. So that's just me. Oh, lock of the week. Go with my Grizzlies tonight. They're 3.5-point favorites at home against the Rockets. Go ahead and take them straight up money line. I think they're going to get another W tonight.
Will that be 8 in a row or 7?
Well, they lost to Indiana the other night. They won 7 and lost to Indiana, so I'm looking for a bounce back tonight.
That's right. I remember that now. Still one of the hottest teams in the NBA, though.
Oh, yeah. And we still have – Jaren Jackson, Justice Winslow, even, your favorite tripping star, Grayson Allen, left to come back and get in the fold. So, bright future, I think. I like our coach. He's a Popovich kind of disciple, and, I like him a lot.
Murphy, Ty Simpson.
Yeah. It's pretty clear it's down to Tennessee and Clemson with A&M taking the quarterback today. If I'm him, I'm giving Clemson a look as well. I mean, I hate to say that being a Tennessee fan, but you've seen, I mean, it's the sexy pick, I guess. You go to Clemson, you have a chance of winning a national title. They roll the ACC every single year. You're going to be playing for Dabo. Tony Elliott's still the OC there. They got a good quarterback and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I think it's pronounced Uiagalelei is how you say it.
Nobody knows how to say it.
Yeah, no. That's good enough.
Yeah. So, and he's young, so he's still got a few years of eligibility. So that would maybe scare me a little bit. But you look at Tennessee's quarterback room, and there's talent there too. So I don't really think that plays a factor. I think for me, Simpson was. And again, I could be very wrong with this. I think he was looking for a reason to commit to Tennessee. Like Jeremy Pruitt probably recruited him, talked to him, tried to sell him on Tennessee. He's clearly a Tennessee fan, so you don't need to sell him on that. But I think he was waiting for somebody to give him a reason to say, okay, Tennessee's my best place to land.
What did Pruitt have to sell offensive-wise? Nothing.
Well, nothing. He's selling Tennessee as a university, but Simpson already knows all that. So now that Heupel's reached out to the 2022 guys in Tennessee and said, we want to close the borders and all that. Simpson, I think, is going to – I'm going to be mad if this is wrong, but I'm going to say he's going to pick Tennessee. come the 19th.
Lock it in, you
I'll-
coward. Come on.
Double
lock
lock
it
of the
in.
week.
I'll lock that sucker in. Why not? But I do agree with D. Taylor that if he picks somewhere else this first time and Tennessee shows progress, you see progression at the quarterback position, the offense scores points, you could easily get Simpson back in the boat. And he's a guy, I think we said it, is going to be able to bring other guys, Jordan James, Walter Nolan, those guys in state into Tennessee. So give me Simpson to Tennessee lock of the week. Put it down.
Like it.
That's the one thing right before you go, Sawyer. That's the one thing, Murphy, that's what Clemson. I'm with you. I think it's Tennessee, Clemson. I don't think anybody else is. I think everybody else is kind of the usual suspects you see hanging out there. Clemson, what you brought up with Uiagalelei, he'll be a sophomore this year, I think. It's his job. So when he'd be a freshman, DJ, I'll call him DJ. That's his first name. Uiagalelei. I'm going to have a stroke saying that too many times in a row. But he'll be a junior his freshman year. That gives him 1 year to learn under him, who's probably – I mean, he's probably going to be a beast. I mean, he's a monster. He's built bigger than Cam Newton is, I think, and he's got a rocket arm. He can move.
He's got weapons.
He's got everything there, so I'd be shocked if he's not – I don't know if he'll be Trevor Lawrence, but he'll be a very good quarterback. I'd be shocked if he's not. That's the one thing that I'm glad you said that scares me about Clemson is we have more talent here. There's more bodies here that kind of I think could scare him off. Like I said, I don't think it will, because if he's legit, if he's good, if he wants to be the quarterback at Tennessee, it's not going to matter who's there. I don't care if Peyton Manning's there. I mean, if that's what he wants, if he's going to get it, and if he's good enough too, he'll get it. And won't hurt my feeling. I don't care if it's Salter, Bailey, Hooker, Ty Simpson, Sawyer Turnbow at quarterback. I don't care who it is. I mean, whoever it is, just win games. So that
if we've learned anything is you can never have enough talent in that position.
Right. That was just a good point you brought up. That's the one thing that does scare me about Clemson. When I put the orange Kool-Aid down and I take a step back, that's the one thing that could bite us there. So Sawyer, close this out.
It's easy to say Ty Simpson is going to pick Tennessee just because he's from here, been a fan. And, some kids really take pride in representing their home state. I know when Kennedy Chandler, when he committed to Tennessee, he said something about, I love my city, but I want to represent my state. And that's, when we found out he was committed to Tennessee. So, man, you know what? Screw it. Simpson to Tennessee. I'm calling.
I like it.
Lock it in. We got 3 locks. Keenan, make it a 4th. Lock it in. Did you already?
I'm locking it in.
We got 4 locks. What could go wrong with 4 locks on the door? Nothing could go wrong.
If Murphy
Pressure is a hell of a drug.
Okay, Murphy's every week.
I'll text D. Scott. No context. I don't know if he's watching now or not. I'll text him just no context. Say lock it in, and we'll blow his phone up with lock.
We'll see whose side he's on.
Right. But yeah, I mean, if I had some wood here, I'd knock on the wood just because I don't want to jinx it. But I mean, there you go. Sawyer got us. So that's episode 6. That's all I've got. Any closing thoughts?
You'll know where Simpson's going the night before. Those crystal balls will start flowing in, and you'll know. And I hate that about recruiting. That drives me insane.
That's what
Danny White's gonna have an aneurysm.
I had it pulled up right here, right now, while y'all are talking about him. He's got 2 crystal balls. Both are Clemson.
Yeah.
But one was back in October from a Clemson insider. So, but the other one scares me. That's Steve Wiltfong. I know he's the director of 24/7 Sports. That was a week. Yeah, that was a week ago. And even then, they do 24/7. I don't know which one y'all use the most. I've kind of come up watching 24/7. But
I do too. That's the only one I trust.
That's the one I use.
I like Rivals a little bit better. I like Austin Price like that. I like 24/7's rating system better, I think. For reporting, I think I like Rivals better. But 24/7's got the confidence meter now, where you 1 through 10, you give a number for how confident you are in your pick. Wiltfong's is only a 6, which is medium for them. I mean, so it's not like he's 10 locked in. He's a Tiger. I mean, so that what does Steve Wiltfong know? The boys at Checkerboard Check-In have the inside scoop.
Well,
Steve,
Wiltfong, when Terrence Lewis, when he announced it was, and Terrence Lewis is a whole another ordeal, but he initially picked Tennessee when it came down to Tennessee and Miami. So I don't necessarily trust that initial pick by Wiltfong. If it stays and that meter goes up or whatever night before, 2 nights before, then you can worry about it.
I want to say it was either Darnell Washington or the tight end that went to LSU that's in the portal now that he gave us a crystal ball to as well. Eric Gilbert. I think he gave us a crystal ball for one of those two as well. So I think he's kind of a front runner. He goes with the momentum, but I agree with, Dylan and Sawyer that this is going to be a recruitment for the long haul. It's not going to be something that's decided, in the next couple of weeks. If Tennessee can show confidence and, put up UCF style numbers, then I think that makes it a lot more attractive situation for Simpson. So,
and we'll be back again next week. He's not till the 19th, so we'll have another episode. What day's the 19th? That's
Friday.
Yep.
So we might be like, who knows? We might be live that night before when it's breaking down. So we also may have a breakdown that night. So
yeah,
who knows? You never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get on Rocky Top. That's episode 6. Thanks for checking in with us, boys. Have a good one. Good episode.
Appreciate it.
I'll take it easy, guys.
see you, boys.
Peace.